So you have people that are deferring their life while they're paying too much interest. And if you have these high interest rates, who cares about your retirement funds? They're never going to perform at this level. Pay this thing off, invade those plans, find access to cash instead of saying, oh, I can't touch that because that's my retirement fund. Well, guess what? Right now is the time to invade that, and as far as I'm concerned. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. Hey, do you have high interest rate credit cards? Is cash flow tight and you hate paying those massive interest rates? Or what are your options? Should you do a balance transfer or should you negotiate better interest rates? This applies to anyone that has ever had a loan, and the ways to keep more and pay the institution less, that's what we're about to unveil.
This is Alan's question today.
All right.
I think it's going to help a lot of people. I think this is pretty common, and I've said this before in other episodes, but credit cards can be a pretty difficult thing to deal with, because sometimes we get in desperate situations and we need access to money.
It could be evil.
Yeah, and I asked you before we started recording, how can they get by with charging such a high interest rate? And I know we signed the agreement and we agreed to it, but some of these percentages that we see come in through Ask the Money Nerds and all the questions are really high. Like this one's 22.99%. We've even seen like up to 27% interest rate. So it's just...
The credit card companies originally, these are like 6 or 7% interest rate. And they're pretty strict about how they gave it out. And then they did the analysis. Someone at an Ivy League school or someone on Wall Street or whatever it was like, hey, even if we really have a high default rate, charging higher interest rates will make us more money. So they didn't really consider the impact on people. They only thought about profit. So yeah, they're crap. They're crap, Stolva.
Is there no like regulatory organization
I'm sure there
on
is.
this?
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Then let's just get to Alan's question so we don't go down a rabbit hole.
Right.
Okay.
You're fired up.
I know. Okay. I just want people to live in freedom. Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go. Let's answer Alan's question. He says, hello, Garrett and Money Nerds. I hope this question finds you well. I'm doing well.
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah.
It's a big week of content this week.
Yes. Lots going on.
Filmed a video course, did an audio book, and now we're doing these. Did you do anything else?
Well,
in my play?
Your play, your book, your regular business meeting. So the week was stacked. Yeah. So, okay. So here we go.
So now that everybody's caught up.
What was that?
Now that everybody's caught up, we'll read the question.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into it. It says, I'm not working at the moment due to the COVID situation. I only have $2,000 in my bank account and I owe $7,500 in credit card debt. The APR on the credit card is 22.99%.
Get a hard time even saying that.
I know. It sends shivers down my spine. Would it make more sense to do a balance transfer or call the credit card issuer and try to work something out with them? And if calling the issuer makes more sense, what should I say or ask them? If there's another option or solution I can make, what would it be? I really appreciate your time and advice and hope to hear from you soon. Alan, we have some answers for you. So.
All right. I'll just say right out the gate, we have a cool free resource, wealthfactory.com/credit. And I remember recording that because a bunch of the people on the team we did in the middle of the office came up and started asking questions afterwards because I'm interviewing 2 credit experts, and then there's some cool resources. So that's no charge. Well, you exchange your email for it, right? So we can stay in contact, but wealthfactory.com/credit. I would start by making the phone call to the credit card company and saying, hey, can I talk to the deals department? Hey, I'm considering a balance transfer, but I'd like to talk to you guys first, or I'm thinking about canceling. You want to get to the right department. The first person that answers the phone probably doesn't have the authority. You have to go to the retention department and just see what they're willing to do.
Yeah, be patient. You might be transferred 2, 3, 4 times to get to the person, right?
If you balance transfer, you might be able to get a 0% interest rate, but you also might have a provision that if you miss a payment, it could be even higher than what you're paying right now. So you want to be really careful about that. And I mean, like miss it by a minute, might not even show up on your credit report. It's just that you didn't pay it perfectly on time. So you want to be careful about that. The second thing you want to look at is how much are they going to force you to pay to consider it, like your minimum payment. And sometimes you move it and they make that a higher payment. And so in this time where there's tough cash flow, you got to be really careful about that. But let's look at the 4 C's first off, right? If you use these 4 C's, it's going to help you get the best interest rates. Number 1 is your credit report or credit score. If you can get your score above 760 and make sure your report's clean, that's going to be really helpful. The second thing is collateral. So if you have a paid off car and you could refinance that, you can get much better interest rate than what is being paid here, right? Even if that car is not worth a ton of money, I would look into that, or any other collateral like refinance a mortgage. The third C is the right cash flow reporting. So if you have good financials and you're going to a bank, it's kind of like when you go get life insurance and you get good blood report, right?
Yeah.
And then last is connections. Certain institutions work better with certain, situations than others. So I think, like I remember buying a car for my mom years ago. Maybe I just said that so I sound like a really good son, but but I remember we went to a credit union because they were like, they were a full 50% lower interest rate than any other place. So it was like 1.5% instead of 3% or something like that. So that's what I mean by the connections. So that's going to help out a little bit there. The next thing is, if you stay with the existing company, you might not have to do an inquiry. So there's hard inquiries and soft inquiries. A hard inquiry is someone else looks at your credit. And if you have even a couple of those a year, it could decrease the points on your credit report, on your credit score, which might hurt you in getting these loans. Or if you stay with the existing company, they might not check that out.
Okay.
So that's why I would say call them first. Now, if you don't have a job, you don't have income coming in, it might be a little bit more complicated. So let me give some other options.
Okay.
If you have a 401k, right now you can get up to $100,000 out without penalty. Right
now, is there a deadline on that? Because I know that's something that has come about since everything that's been happening in 2020. So is there like a deadline on it?
Don't know.
Okay.
No. But you can do it now, as of the time we're recording this.
Yes.
So a second thing is, if you do have cash values, you could actually get money from your cash values that could pay it off. Third is, do you have any family members that are earning next to nothing on their interest rate? That we did this with my grandparents. My grandparents bought a car for one of their grandkids. They did a down payment on a home for another grandkid, and they got higher interest rate from them, even though they weren't going to charge more, because they had really good credit, really good options, and then they could kind of help those people out that they wanted to help out anyway, and get a little bit better interest rate than they were getting in a savings account. So that's an interfamily loan. Is there anyone that you'd be willing to approach and do that with? It reminds me of my college roommate. Him and his brother, their parents financed the down payments on their homes. It doubled the interest rate that they were earning with their certificates of deposit, but it cut in half what they would have had to pay on a normal, getting a second mortgage. So it was a very winning situation, basically cutting the bank out of the picture. So if there's any creative things you can do there, I would look at that too.
How do you go about having those conversations where you reach out to, a brother, a sister, an aunt and uncle, a grandparent, and say, hey, can I borrow some money from you? Like, do you have any advice on how to initiate those conversations, or, find out if people are actually in a situation where they could loan you if that's not common? Because I know in many families, that's not, money's not talked about, and so.
I went to my grandparents and said, hey, your home's paid off, but if you were to get a line of credit, I'm looking to buy this other property. I could make the down payment with your line of credit. I could pay you, more than the interest rate that you're being charged. And I just open up the conversation that way. I mean, it's not always easy conversations. Usually I would say something like, hey, I'm going to propose something. If at all it's uncomfortable, let's just throw it out and pretend it didn't happen. But I'd rather pay you interest than an institution. I'd rather, I'd rather pay less and pay you guys more by cutting out the middleman. So it's just, I don't know, every family dynamic's a little bit different, but I think it does take a little bit of courage. But I think the more courage we have in our conversations in this world, the better our life gets. So I wish I had a better answer,
No, that's fine.
When it comes down to it.
You're right. Family dynamics play a big part in it.
Yeah, but I think that there's a lot of financial gurus out there that say you never touch a retirement plan. Well, guess what? Retirement plans have been disappointing by far, and they're not providing a quality retirement. So you have people that are deferring their life while they're paying too much interest. And if you have these high interest rates, who cares about your retirement funds? They're never going to perform at this level. Pay this thing off. Invade those plans. Find access to cash instead of saying, oh, I can't touch that because that's my retirement fund. Well, guess what? right now is the time to invade that, and as far as I'm concerned.
Right. And it's a way to help make sure that you're set for now, because we're in such crazy times. You know, life is very unpredictable right now, and it has created a lot of anxiety in people. So if you can invade those retirement plans, like you said, and have a little more peace of mind and access to cash now, it feels like well worth it.
I kind of feel like people are told, oh, well, you need that when you get to retirement. But when people get to retirement, they try to spend any other thing other than a retirement plan, because if you hate paying taxes today, you'll still hate paying them when you're retired. And because those plans are deferred unless they're a Roth IRA, well, then people are going, well, if I pull that money out, I have to pay tax on it. And if they never spend it, it might as well have been 100% tax because they never enjoy it. So help yourself out. But get to the point where you go, why did I accrue this? Was it because I wasn't financially prepared? Was it a circumstance that was so surprising? And what could I learn from that circumstance? And how can I start paying myself first and watch these kind of things and be responsible? Because we all make financial mistakes. I don't care how smart you are. I could go through all of these so-called financial gurus, some I've even interviewed, that have been bankrupt. I could think of two of the biggest names out there that went bankrupt because they made mistakes. We can't judge who we are based upon our financial mistakes.
No.
But the key is we have to understand why we got into the situation, understand what we would do differently. And unfortunately, people don't learn the lesson all the way.
Yeah.
You know, but if you can permanently learn the lesson, like I learned some lessons permanently in 2008. About being overextended, being overly optimistic, about not paying attention to cash flow, by not having enough liquidity because I thought everything I was doing was always going to keep exponentially growing like it had the previous 10 years, and then realized, wait, that doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
So, you know, forgive yourself for the mistakes, do what you got to do, but get clear about why you got in the situation in the first place, and then correct those mistakes. Build liquidity, increase your financial intelligence, and forgive yourself. That's the main steps. Okay, so go to wealthfactory.com/megakit. You can grab Killing Sacred Cows, which is great for like permission to succeed, avoiding the missteps and mistakes along the way. You also can get a cash flow guide, and that cash flow guide is really instrumental because there's 7 different sections of it to help you find money, to help you plug leaks, to help you with kind of more creative strategies than just, you know, cutting everything out and living off rice and beans and that kind of stuff. So wealthfactory.com/megakit. Turn your thoughts into profits, build the life you love, and ask us Money Nerds your questions at askthemoneynerds.com.